Thank you.
Is it eating or gym more?
Both? Oh, both. Because I've like pretty much cut out most fast food. I mean, on occasion, if I'm drunk and it's late, I will stop by the Taco Bell.
Absolutely.
But that's only happened like once.
Interviewing Broadway stars of all kind, asking the questions that you have pined. We'll grab a slice and you can unwind, 'cause now it's time for a Pizza Your Mind.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of A Pizza Your Mind. I am here with Patrick Clanton. I know Patrick from School of Rock the Musical, the tour, and you might know him right now. He is in MOULIN ROUGE on Broadway.
No one know me, but that's all right.
Stop that mindset right now. I knew when I saw a Broadway show, I still do, look through all of them, and I'm so interested in every single person on that stage. Genuinely. And I fangirl quite a bit over ensemble and covers, because being someone who has covered, a lot of the time, like I look at it like, I want someone to like,
you know what they go through, and you understand.
All right, we're not talking.
Oh.
We're eating first. Look at that.
Yay.
That looks great.
Ooh, it looks very
Patrick
good.
wanted pepperoni and sausage, which
did.
I'm very, very excited for. So please pick your piece. And
I'm a meat
grab a
guy.
slice. Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Meat man.
Is this your favorite pizza spot in the area? Or
It's hard to choose. I'm trying to go like different routes.
Ah, okay.
And I'm trying to get sponsors. So I'm trying to like try different ones and be like, hey, if you give us a pizza, we could sponsor your place.
That's right.
And I'll have to pay for pizza. You don't have to pay anything else, but cheers.
Cheers.
Enjoy.
Yay. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
Already, first bite.
If you need a
thank you, sir. Mm-hmm.
All right, we'll get right into it. You grew up in. We can talk with our mouth full here.
Okay.
Just so you know, people are
I like
sometimes
that.
into that. So
I always talk with my mouth full. So
Good.
It works for me.
you grew up in Garner, North Carolina. Mm-hmm. Went to Elon University and received your BFA in musical theater. And then, right after you graduate, you booked the second national tour of Sister Act. Did that validate your decision to be a performer? Booking something directly after you.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone's afraid of. For me, it was more so like, okay, now my parents don't have to worry about me. Mm-hmm. Because I know that they were. I know that majoring in musical theater was not something that they were necessarily like on board with from the beginning. You know, my mom especially, like, she wanted me to like minor in communication. She's like, okay, if you're majoring in musical theater, you should minor in something.
Have some sort of backup.
Exactly. And I just like, number one, the amount of work that we actually did have to do in like the BFA program was so much that I couldn't imagine minoring in something and having another workload.
Yeah, because I don't think people realize, if you're not in theater, when you major in like a BFA, you are doing all parts of theater history, technical theater, like script analysis. Like there's so much workload, and it's a lot of workload. It's not just like answering multiple choice questions, or like researching this one thing. Like you're doing all of these things at once. It's a lot.
Right. And on top of that, I mean, Elon is a what do you call it? A liberal arts college, but I still had to take like my gen eds. Yeah. It wasn't a conservatory type program. So that was like, which I liked. I wanted that because I feel like that made me a more well-rounded person. I didn't necessarily want to go to like a school specifically for the arts. Although I'm sure that would have been great.
Yeah,
I would have had a good time, but it just would have been a different college experience. I mean, it was already a different college experience because it was a small private college instead of like, you know, I do sort of like look at my friends who went to like these huge schools, and
it would have been an entirely different.
So different. I remember going to see my friend in a production of Spring Awakening at UNC Chapel Hill. And we were trying to find the theater, and we asked some students, we were like, excuse me, where's the like auditorium? And they're like, which one,
Yeah,
like
that's
what,
wild.
like I don't know.
I don't think
The
I would have
campus was
done
so
well
huge.
at a huge school.
Yeah, yeah,
I
me
went to
neither.
a smaller school as well.
Yeah.
And number one, I got more roles because it was a smaller school, so
All
I got
right.
that experience in shows, which I think is important for a lot of people.
Right. Yeah.
So it was less validating booking the tour right after college. It was more validating, like telling your parent, like your mom, like, hey, I'm good. I'm good. Like, look, see, like I do have a future in this. But did you know it all along? Like, was that any validation for you, or were you like you were confident in that?
It was definitely validation for me. I mean, I will say I had a very blessed, lucky, like fortunate college experience where I was getting a lot of like lead roles throughout my time in school. Like my freshman year, I played God in Children of Eden.
Yeah, let's go.
So,
So you already, in a way, you have that confidence because like, and that's why I think smaller schools are good too. Not that you want to get those roles in bigger schools, but some places are like, you're a freshman, you're not getting, no matter if you're right
correct.
for it, you won't get that.
I mean,
role.
there are some schools that like straight up don't even let freshmen like audition for shows initially. So, but all of that also just had to do with the timing. Also, just had to do with the other people who were in the program at the time. So even as I was like getting roles and stuff, there was almost then an extra pressure on me to succeed.
To keep it going.
Because now I not only have to like make sure that my parents are happy that I'm working, but also I feel this pressure from my school and from my professors to be successful.
Yeah.
Because like, hey, we gave you all these opportunities here. We believe in you, so now you have to show that you can do this like in New York and stuff.
Yeah, and you did. And you do. You now have 3 tours under your belt.
Yeah.
Sister Act, School of Rock, which we were in together, and Oklahoma, which you just recently did. Well, I guess it's not recent now, but like it depends on
like 2 years ago.
Yeah. Tour life is a different beast altogether. I'd love to hear your favorite and least favorite thing about tour life, because there's pros and cons to it for sure.
There are. I really enjoy being on tour. It's very fun for me. All 3 of those tours were so completely different. They were all such different experiences because Sister Act was a non-equity tour. So we were sometimes playing cities for one night and then getting on the bus the next morning, driving to the next city, getting off at the hotel, getting back on the bus to go to the next theater that we were performing in. I mean, sometimes we were on the bus all day and then driving straight to the theater.
That's wild.
Yeah. And like getting fed there and then getting ready to do the show that night.
That's wild.
And we were playing, the most random cities like Opelika, Alabama. You know, it's just like places I had never heard of. And then School of Rock was like much nicer. We were in cities for at least a week. The production value was a little bit more. It was an equity tour, so there were certain rules, and of course the pay was better, and we were going to like the big cities and stuff, so it was a completely different experience. And then Oklahoma was just weird as hell. It was an equity tour, but then also we had a couple of like one-nighters thrown in there and some like split weeks and large gaps in between. Like we would have layoffs constantly. Like I feel like in the time that I was in that show, we were laid off more than we were on the road.
Was that because of COVID?
It was partially because of COVID, yes. COVID kind of screwed up the scheduling of the tour. And so before COVID, they had like a pretty decent schedule set out. And then after COVID, when all of the touring houses had to reschedule their itineraries for like what shows they were going to bring in, they then had to contend with the shows that were canceled from 2020.
Oh, so then
and the new shows that were supposed to come in the following season. And I think for most of those theaters, Oklahoma was the one that they were like, we're actually fine with that not coming this season.
Because it was a revival?
Because it was weird.
Oh,
because it was so weird.
It was a fun take on it.
Yeah, I mean, I was really excited
different.
to be a part of it. I'm so sorry, I'm not really answering this question.
You're not. That's okay.
I was excited to be a part of that show because I saw it on Broadway and I thought it was so cool. And it felt like, oh, this is like a real, actor's show. Like this is, and I've always been like kind of self-conscious about my acting in particular. Like, I think because of some trauma from college,
musical
honestly.
Theater.
Yeah.
I think it's a huge stigma. And like people that go into musical theater aren't real like actors.
Totally.
They can sing and dance and all this stuff, but they're not actors. They didn't focus on the acting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I highly disagree.
Yeah.
Maybe some people.
Yeah.
But not us.
No, that's right. Honestly, I got some of that validation from School of Rock.
Fun.
Because that show, the singing was not as important for the adult ensemble. I mean, yes, we had to sing, but like, that was not the main focus.
Yeah.
Obviously. And
but you had some deep scenes.
yeah, I had to play. I got to play like 3 different, I was probably the most featured ensemble
member for sure.
No, I didn't understudy anybody, so like that was it for me. But that like made me think, oh, I guess I got this because like I'm a good actor.
Yeah.
Not because of like my voice, not because of anything.
That's validating for sure.
Okay, my favorite part of touring is just like getting to see the country.
For sure.
That's just
get paid
so
to
awesome.
see like visit places you probably wouldn't have maybe.
Yeah, I mean, oftentimes it really does feel like you're on vacation a little bit. And, you just have to do this one thing. You really don't have to worry about anything else besides
the show that night.
The show, yeah.
Or the matinee.
That's so cool.
Least favorite?
Probably living out of a suitcase.
Fair. Like not having a home.
Yeah. I mean, the hotel living, I don't mind it. But by the time I did Oklahoma, I did have a thought of like, okay, you're about to be 30. I don't know. I mean, obviously, if the right show had come along to tour with, okay,
for sure.
Great.
Do you still feel that way now? Is like after being on Broadway? Because usually I feel like a lot of people, maybe me included, I haven't really thought about it that much, but like there's like a tier of like what you're supposed to do of like I did the theme park,
yeah.
Then I did summer stock, then I did a national tour, and then like if you do Broadway, would you go back? Like obviously probably for like a good role now, right?
Yeah, or just like if it's a show or a creative team that like I'm dying to work with. That's or fair. Something, for sure. Listen, I feel very fortunate that after college I did not go straight to Broadway. Like that to me was so important. It let me see that I could be happy working in so many different places, that success it looks different everywhere you go, and it's really not about making it to Broadway.
I read an interview about that in my research that you said that, and I love that because I think it's so true. Not to talk about myself, but I'm doing a one-man show on cruise ships right now, and I travel a lot. And someone said to me, Sammy Dell's mom was like, "It's so cool that you're doing that because you're showing Sammy that there's like Broadway is not the end all be all and stuff." So I just think that's which this is a great segue. You're a theme parks is a lot of people make their career in that, and you love Disney. And I love, fantastic. I love that. You're a huge Disney fan and have been since you first visited the parks in 1996. 20 years later, you finally got your ears being cast in the Candlelight Processional at Epcot. You were cast again in 2020 as Bruce the Shark in Finding Nemo the Musical at Animal Kingdom. However, because of the pandemic and everything shutting down in March, you didn't get to do the show.
I was sorry.
No, there's more to the question. I'm sure that was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
I'm sure. But is it fair to assume that if you would have taken that job, you might not be on Broadway right now?
For sure. I mean, if I had taken that job, I might have just stayed there.
And it's so Disney is such a great place to work.
Yes.
The equity shows there; they treat their people so well. Yeah. A lot of people from Broadway that have careers on Broadway go down there to have a family and still have a job performing.
Yeah,
and they do great shows. Finding Nemo being one of them. But I just think it's so fascinating that I'm sure that was so bumming, and being in that moment of damn, this is something again, a place that you love, a show that's fantastic, a role that's fun and juicy. Yeah. But you were probably so bummed, but now looking back, it's one of those things, especially in our career, that one show doesn't happen and you're like, damn, I really, really wanted that. Yeah. But if that would have happened, you wouldn't have been what you're doing right now, which is on Broadway covering 2 incredible tracks in Moulin Rouge.
Yeah.
That's dope.
I mean, it's really crazy how many things, how many dominoes kind of fell that led to this, because there's just so many. Even going back to School of Rock, had I not left School of Rock when I did, there's so much stuff that wouldn't have happened. I left School of Rock because I was like, well, it's audition season right now. We only had 4 more months left to tour. Remember. And I was like, peace, I'm going. Because I was like, well, if I'm not in New York during audition season, how am I going to find my next job? Yeah. And I just thought,
it's a good thing to think about. That was smart of you.
Yeah. And, but the thing is, I did not work for most of 2019. I did one other job, and it was a regional production of Annie that was just 3 weeks.
That was North Carolina?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. North Carolina Theater. It was a great production, but I was in the ensemble. It was 2 weeks of rehearsal, 1 week of a run, so it was not much. And then the rest of that time, I was just kind of grinding and trying to audition as much as I could. But then 2019 passes and I didn't book anything. I was like, okay, I need an agent.
Reassess. Oh, okay.
I need an agent, because by that point, I was still doing everything by myself, which was awesome. Yeah. And I recommend
do it as long as you can.
Yeah. Save that 10%.
Yes.
But
10%.
10%.
I gotta reconsider.
Yeah.
It's not 50%.
And what?
I'm just kidding.
No.
No, I'm just kidding.
But
feel free to grab another slice.
Okay. And then 2020 rolls around, and that's when I signed on with my agent. And literally 2 weeks after that is when I got the call for Finding Nemo. I had auditioned for it the summer before, and coincidentally, it was the same casting director as the Candlelight Processional, so they kind of knew me. And they had asked me back then in the summer, they were like, would you consider a sub role? Because Disney World has so many sub contracts.
Absolutely. You'll still work 40 hours and just go from stage to stage.
Yeah, but I just wasn't ready to move to Orlando.
Yeah.
For that, so I told them oh well, it will probably be I would only come down if it was a full-time position. And they told me okay, well, those don't open up very often, but if one does, we'll let you know. And then sure enough, one opened up, and it was this moment of oh, I just got an agent.
Yeah.
And I was kind of in this mode of well, I feel now is my time to stay in New York and just be here and everything. And so I went back and forth about it for a while, and I asked multiple people, and almost everybody was you should do it.
Yeah.
It's
you can always come back.
Yeah. New York is always going to be here. They're you already know that you love working there. You already have friends there, and why wouldn't you go? So I was just okay.
But then the universe was hold up.
Yeah. And I mean, the crazy part about that, to get a little bit sad, is that I ended up coming back home 2 weeks before I was set to leave. I was supposed to drive down to Orlando on March 15th.
Wild.
Yeah. And so for those 2 weeks, I'm just watching the news, seeing things get worse and worse. And I got a text from the people that I was supposed to be living with, who were also 2 Finding Nemo cast members. and they were like, hey, like, so we're hearing that the park is probably going to shut down for at least 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So before you get down here. So we just wanted to let you know and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, okay. At the same time, my mom she was getting worse with her cancer. She had multiple myeloma, and she had been going back and forth to the hospital a lot. They were like trying to do these like things to like help her. She was having trouble breathing, and that's happening at the same time. And she went to the hospital on March 12th, 2020, and that was the same day that like everything announced that it was shutting down. So it was this weird moment, and she went to the hospital and continued to get worse, and she ended up passing away on March 21st. If I had not accepted that job, if I had not accepted Finding Nemo, I would not have been able to spend the 2 weeks that I got to spend with her before she passed. Like those were the last moments that I had with her. The last real moments that I had with her, and we just, spent time watching. We loved watching movies together, and and so it was this cosmic, thing where I was just like, wow, all of the things that had to happen, starting all the way back with leaving School of Rock.
Yeah.
Because that also, leaving School of Rock allowed me to have more time with her even then. Like, I got to spend what ended up being her last Mother's Day with her because I was home.
That's wild how the universe works like
yeah.
that. It really, really is.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to see it in anything in the moment.
Yeah.
But it's sometimes really, really good to look back and yeah.
No,
and
I say that really deep thing will have a biopiece.
Well, that actually leads into a great segment. If you find yourself on the Upper West Side of Manhattan, on the corner of 68th Street and Columbus, and are craving some tasty Italian food, then you have to stop in to Il Violino. Il Violino was established in 1993 by the Mariani family, now owned by my good friend Carmen. Il Violino has been one of the original Lincoln Center Italian restaurants, and these days one of the few still in operation. For those of you who know a little bit about me, this is the restaurant I would busk outside of during the pandemic to make rent. And they would feed me every night. So I've taken a trip around their menu. And I recommend the chicken parm or the orchietti broccolera. Delicious. And you have to end with the tiramisu for dessert. Just scrumptious. Scrumptious. If you like Italian food, you truly can't go wrong with anything from Il Violino. There's a segment that we call Speed Slice.
Okay.
You have 10 questions here.
Uh-huh.
You're going to read the question and then answer the question.
Okay.
The time you have to answer the question is me eating a slice of pizza. You get to pick the slice that's on here. So I eat quickly, so you have to answer these questions very quickly. They're quick questions.
Okay.
So pick the slice that I will be eating.
This one.
Cool.
That's
Meaty
the biggest crust.
Yeah,
yes.
I saw that. Do I have to eat
table.
that?
No.
Okay, the table.
No.
I love the table. Okay, so you're gonna flip
I-
that up. You
I
ask
ask and then answer.
Yes.
Myself.
in 3, 2, 1, go.
What was the title of your autobiography? I was just thinking about you. Would you rather suck the snot out of somebody's nose or have someone throw up in your mouth? Oh my God. I guess the snot.
Yeah,
you know they sell those things for babies for you to be able to suck the snot out of their noses.
Probably not eat after.
That's true. Yeah. What reality show from any time would you want to appear on? Flavor of Love. Favorite food to eat when sad? Chips. Name a body part you can live without. Chin. What's your happy place?
That's a good one.
My bed. What real song is the theme song of your life? What's that song? One is the loneliest number. That's sad. Name 3 things in your fridge. Baby carrots, tofu, and 2 oranges. I guess that's 4 things. Do an impression. Hi ho, Kermit the Frog. That's bad. What's your favorite YouTube series where you eat pizza on a couch with a chubby yet attractive host? A piece of your mind. I did it. I did it.
You won.
I did it.
I lost.
Those were not great answers. I apologize.
That was great. That was a good comment.
I can't know. I could do better. I've done better before. You know what? I think I can sing Kermit better than speak
yeah,
him.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree with that. What's your favorite chip?
A good ruffle is great. Also, kettle cooked anything.
Yeah, that crunch is unbelievable.
Great. Also, the salt and pepper ridge cut chips from
TJ's?
Yes.
I don't like the salt and pepper. I've never had the salt and pepper, but the regular wavy, like ridge cut, that crunch is like none other.
Well, that's a good crunch.
So, I've been fortunate enough to see you twice in Moulin Rouge, once in your ensemble track, and once as Harold Ziedler. You also cover Toulouse-Lautrec. Between Ziedler and Lautrec, is there a role that you get just a little more excited for when you find out you're going on?
Toulouse, like, I have more of like a sentimental attachment to because that's what I ended up making my Broadway debut as, which is like crazy. Sure. That's not something that I ever thought would have happened. I mean, I was hired as an ensemble member to cover those roles, but just because of the way that things worked out, I ended up learning that role first because they were like, there's a solid chance that you'll end up debuting in this role before you do your ensemble track. So that one will always be like very special to me. He's a very special character. He's kind of the way that our associate director, Maddie DiCarlo, talked about it. Like, he's the heart of the show. Like, he's kind of the real like heartbeat of the show. And so I really love him. But there is like this extra kick of excitement when it's Ziedler, just because he like really kicks the show off. Like,
the energy levels are different too. So like you have to have that energy.
Totally different. Yeah. I mean, I feel like I got hit by a truck when I do Ziedler. Yeah. After I'm done, like, I really feel it afterwards. But like I get to sing more as Lautrec. I kind of like his songs better.
Absolutely.
So they both have their pros and cons. Or not cons. There are no cons. There are no cons. I love them both. But I feel a little bit more connected to Lautrec. Like,
I love it.
I don't know. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
My fiance who you met, Izzy, she always likes to ask the guest a question. She does. She has good questions, so I let her. Her question is, if you had to live inside a Disney attraction for the rest of your life, which would you choose and why?
Gosh.
I thought that was such a good question.
There's so many good ones. Gosh, live inside of it. I'm going through all of them.
I know.
I feel like it has to be like a dark ride or something.
Like Haunted Mansion, Pirates.
Oh yeah,
Haunted Mansion. Or were you thinking like Peter Pan or like?
Peter Pan's so short. I feel like you wouldn't have enough room to like live inside of it.
Haunted Mansion is a mansion.
It is a mansion. It might be haunted, but you know what? That's a great one. That's a pretty good one.
I feel like I led you.
No, but
Twilight.
It is good.
Twilight.
Tower of Terror.
Tower of Terror.
That one's good. I would have lived inside the Great Movie Ride.
Yes.
That was so. Oh man, I miss it so much.
Yes, I agree.
I got to ride it the last day. It was
no way.
Yeah. It was really special because like
the true fans that were there and like the nostalgia
and the I feel this is one thing that like I'm really sad is like starting to disappear from theme parks is the live person who's on the ride with you. And the live actors in a ride, like that was so exciting to me as a kid. Did you ever ride Confrontation?
Yeah, of course.
Oh my God.
At Universal.
That junk was, I mean, you...
I did, after that, it turned into Disaster, which I did, that was my first role at the parks.
Shut up.
I was Lonnie. And that was like a live character that like brought you through the ride and you filmed a movie and stuff. And they're losing everywhere. Because even Jungle Cruise, they're not actors. Those are just like
cast members.
They're cast members that like take on a large responsibility.
Yeah.
But it used to be an actor role.
Right.
And The Great Movie Ride used to be an actor role, and then it became a cast member as well. I mean, they're all cast members. But,
yeah.
But wild to me.
It's so sad. Like that, I feel like as we both like got to be a part of like the live entertainment of those theme parks, they really are the heartbeat, and they're what make it so special. Like, cool animatronics are amazing.
Absolutely.
They're so great, but at the end of the day, it's steel and metal, and there's not a heartbeat.
Correct.
there.
And it's the same thing every time. When you have a live performer, it is a little different every time.
Different.
You have your favorites. You have your... Yeah.
That's the stuff I
agree.
remember most from like going there as a kid and you know, is the live people. So, yeah.
Last question.
Okay.
You created a YouTube series called Behind the Magic. Yes. Where you create a mini doc and take people through the creation of Broadway shows. What gave you the drive to start the series? And do you have one in particular that you learned stuff about while researching that surprised you?
Yeah. So number one, I need to get back to it. I've taken an extended break.
And you will, but there are a lot of episodes on there, so go follow.
Yeah.
We'll post the link right below.
So that arose during the pandemic.
Yeah.
It was a multifaceted thing. Like I said, I just lost my mother, and also the world had shut down. So I was just sitting at home.
Dive into something.
Yeah, I needed something creative to kind of take my mind off of things and just to like give me something to do. Like I had nothing to do. So I had like fiddled around with like video editing in the past, but like little small things. And I was like, you know, that would be fun to like kind of explore. And there were several like YouTube series that I was a big fan of, like Defunct Land and Abandoned. Bright Sun. The channel is called Bright Sun Films. But
You like those, so you wanted to make your own?
yeah, I was like, they're not really. They're talking about things I'm interested in, but there's other things I'm interested in that like they haven't talked about. So like, why don't I talk about
Good
it?
shit.
Yeah, and so it actually started as a channel where I was going to talk about like underrated Disney things that I thought were interesting. And so I talked about some old Disney Channel TV shows and stuff like that. But then I also talked about some of Disney's Broadway shows like Aida. I talked about the Cinderella with Brandy. And those ended up being the videos that got like the most interaction and traction. Yeah. And so I was like, maybe I'll lean into that a little bit more. And so I was making them, and I was making them pretty fast because once again, I had nothing to do. And then
That's why this started.
yeah. And then I decided I was going to make videos about Tarzan on Broadway and The Little Mermaid on Broadway because those were Disney's like biggest flops. They're really Disney's only true Broadway flops.
Hunchback.
Well, that never made it to Broadway though.
Oh, fair.
Yeah, they.
Still
I
doesn't
think
make
they.
sense.
I know. I think they just decided like, well, it's too adult and blah blah blah. It's like, yeah, but
Dumb.
so many of your fans are adults, and like, if you have an adult show that ends up anyway.
So did you learn anything like that like you didn't know before? Because you know a lot of it already. So like was there something in your research that you're like, oh damn?
Yeah, I mean, the reason that I set out to like make one about Tarzan and Little Mermaid was because I wanted to see like those were the two that I decided I should start interviewing people that were a part of these shows. Like that would make the video more interesting and, you know, more unique. And I kind of thought they were all going to be like, yeah, we were in it. It was horrible, like blah, 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 all this stuff. And for all of them that I talked to, they were like, no, it was such a special experience. Like, was it perfect? No, but nothing is. And it really made me go, oh, like we have this perception about like when people are in Broadway shows that don't do well, that like, oh, they must have hated their time there and they must have been.
I feel like that's never,
terrible.
I mean, other than like having someone in the creative process or something like that like is a horrible person.
Right,
but, like,
right.
The people themselves, you in any show you do, if you're a performer, you become a family.
Yeah.
For the most part, you really do. You
Totally.
you spend countless hours together.
Totally.
So That is wild to know. But even with the flops, I guess it's your first instinct is to be like, it was a flop, so they were upset and like the whole experience was bad. So I could totally see how that's surprising that it wasn't. Like they enjoyed the whole experience.
Yeah.
It just happened to not be perfect, and nothing is.
Totally, nothing is. Yeah, I've just, putting those videos together is like a big puzzle, and I enjoy doing puzzles. I'm actually have been, for the longest time, working on one about Finding Nemo, the musical. I literally started it back when that video went viral of the kids singing, "Where's my dad?" I just haven't finished it.
And I will happily, like, I know all of them down there.
Yeah.
And I will send you whoever.
Well, I was trying to like figure out. I want to. That's the thing. I'm like trying to figure out how to end the video because I want like some testimonials from people who've been in it, and then also, to be honest, I'm not like happy about how they've changed it.
I agree.
It makes me 1,000%.
But I mean, I think that could be a part of it too, because especially people that like it. That's very very different.
Yeah.
I can get the director and stuff, and maybe you can reach out to Bobby Lopez and Kristen Lopez because they did the music for it.
I mean, it's
they're doing nothing right now, right?
Right, probably. They're not working on anything. But yeah, I love the videos that I've made. Sometimes I watch them and I'm just like, how the hell did I do that?
Good for you. I love that. You surprised yourself.
Yeah.
I love that.
It's really wild.
Well, when you do the Finding Nemo episode, I'm available.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for watching this one. Before we go, is there anything you'd like to plug?
No. I'll be in Moulin Rouge till I die, probably.
Go see Moulin Rouge. Go watch some of his videos. He's going to have some new ones coming out. We're holding you to it.
Yes.
On Behind the Magic.
Yeah.
So great seeing you. You look great, and I'm going to probably come see you again in Moulin Rouge.
Oh, you don't have to do that.
I'm going to. I want to see you do Le Track.
Oh, yeah.
I want to see
fun.
that. Yeah. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, Jonathan.
Of course.
And thanks for the pizza.
Yeah, of course. Take it home.
I want to see it.
Come on.
Come on. Yeah, you should.
Peter, you're mine.